Hello, welcome back to my channel. My name is Kayla and today I'm going to be sharing with you guys my 2024 reading wrap up. This year of reading has certainly been interesting to say the least. I was honestly a little bit unsure how I want to wrap up this year of reading on YouTube because I feel like I didn't read as much as I wanted to. I went in with such big plans to read a lot this year, but life definitely took a turn. However, I'm really trying to get into the habit of not putting too much pressure on myself. Reading at the end of the day is supposed to be fun and a hobby, and I shouldn't feel like shamed or like shameful for how much I read this year. So I'm pushing past all of the inner thoughts and feelings, and I'm going to be sharing with you guys all of the books I read this year. I read a total of 21 books this year, 22 if you count my current read, which I'm most likely going to finish before the end of the year. And in today's video, I'm going to be sharing all of those thoughts and feelings on those books, my favorites, what I like, what I didn't like, and yeah, without further ado, let's get into it. So I started off the year on kind of a forbidden note with my first book, which was Waking Olivia by Elizabeth O'Rourke. This is a taboo kind of college player sports romance following Olivia, obviously, and her coach Will. Basically, Olivia has a lot of trauma in her life, and so instead of like sleepwalking, she sleep runs when she'll have night terrors and run aimlessly throughout the night, which is not only dangerous, but also she is on her college's running team, and she's trying to explain that to her hot new coach Will, but he's not having it, thinks she's like a total screw up, not doing anything right. But later on, he softens up and gets to know her and is trying to help her through this kind of trauma that she's going through. I really like the banter and dialogue in this one. The main character, Olivia, she kind of has like a sharp mouth on her and is very witty, so I liked hearing their conversations, them go back and forth. This one was really, really sweet, and I ended up giving it 4 stars. After that, I was kind of wanting to read a little bit more of Elizabeth O'Rourke, so then I picked up Drowning Erin, which is the next one in this. It's like a duology, I think. This is the second chance romance that follows Erin and the brother of Will, I believe is the connection. His name is Brendan. They used to work in the shop together and had this really strong connection, but then they kind of lost touch and stopped talking to each other until now when Erin is engaged to Brendan's best friend Rob, who's like this total douchebag. He's been cheating on her, and so the book is not only about like, is she gonna stay with him because she really values safety and comfort, this girl has a lot of trauma, or is she gonna like work out her things with Brendan and like all of their history and stuff like that. I gave this a 3. It was okay. I didn't hate it, but it was kind of forgettable for me. I remember Erin kept flip-flopping and trying to decide between Rob and Brendan, and I was like, there's a clear obvious choice here. Like, Rob's a dick, leave him. Like, what is going on here? After that, I read Happy Place by Emily Henry, and this was phenomenal. Emily Henry is one of my favorite authors of all time. I think I've given all of her books 5 stars or close to it. This is a summer romance following Harriet and Wynne. They were together, they've now broken up, but they are going on this big trip together with all their friends, and to like preserve the vibes of the trip, they have to fake date and like act like they like each other so their whole friend group doesn't find out. Emily Henry just has a way of writing and storytelling that is so unique and like emotionally gripping. I connect with a lot of her characters in her books, but I really did with Harry and Wynne in this one. I felt like I knew them personally. Wynne was written as such a gentle, sweet guy, and Harriet as well. She has like a people-pleasing tendency, and I totally related to that. But yeah, amazing. An all-time favorite book for me for sure. Next, going strong with the romances again, I picked up Love Theoretically by Ali Hazelwood. Ali Hazelwood is such a fun author for me. She is another all-time favorite. I absolutely love her books. This story is between Elsie and Jack. The premise is kind of convoluted. Basically what happens is she runs her own fake dating business where she pretends to like go on dates with guys for like events and whatnot. They need a girlfriend, and one of her most popular clients is older brother, so she's obviously like seen him at these family events and stuff, is now on the hiring committee for her new job at like this thing. I think they're engineers. She's a physicist, so she now is like in this predicament where she's like, I have to explain to this guy like I'm not actually his brother's girlfriend, but also I'm trying to get this job, and now he's gonna think I'm unserious. It's this whole thing of events, but Ali Hazelwood makes it so fun throughout the entire book. You're kept and locked and engaged. I love the banter. It's very steamy. Like, overall, such a good time. I gave it a 4 out of 5. After that, I read Yours Truly by Abby Jimenez, and I wrote 4-star down here, but I don't know why this isn't a 5. This is definitely a 5. I love Jacob and Brianna so much. This is definitely a very emotional romance. It's a fake dating scenario where Jacob and Brianna have to pretend to date because Jacob is being the transplant donor for Brianna's brother. I think it's her brother, it might be some other relative, but someone in her family. But what made this book so special to me was the emotional element. Jacob is an absolute amazing main character. He's so loving and caring and gentle. I love the mental health representation in here. There's anxiety rep in this book, and that was really good to see as well. It's a pen pal romance as well. Like, they write letters to each other. Come on, that is so sweet. I love this book so much. Directly following that, I read Check and Mate by Ali Hazelwood, another Ali Hazelwood book. This is a YA this time though. I read this, not gonna lie, purely because I heard it was about chess, and ever since The Queen's Gambit, I have had this like inner desire to read and like consume stories about chess. So that's why I picked this up. But this was really cute. It's following Nolan and Mallory. Nolan is this really big famous chess player. He's won all these awards and stuff like that, but Mallory ends up beating him in this like novice type of tournament. It's like a hometown thing. This is kind of a twofold battle because not only is it setting her up to be in competition and enemies with Nolan, but then she's also dealing with a lot of residual family feelings kind of around chess. Her family has a history with it. So it was really good. I will say this is the least romance heavy of all of Ali Hazelwood's books by far. It is YA, so it makes sense. It's closed door. It's focused a lot on the chess, but I found it really sweet and endearing. Nolan is absolutely gone for Mallory, and there's this like really cute caretaking scene when he's sick and she's like nursing him to health that I was absolutely a sucker for. So I really like this one as well, and I gave it a 4. The Right Move by Liz Tomford. This is the second book in the Windy City series following Indy and Ryan. Ryan Shea, ladies and gentlemen, like, he is the love of my life. He is everything you want in a book, man, and more. He's kind, he's sweet, he's gentle. Maybe not the main point, but like a really big running theme in this book is kind of focusing on the little and quiet moments of love, the small acts of service that you do in a relationship rather than like the big grand gestures. And I really like that. Dating best friend's brother, Indy ends up moving in with Ryan after like a bad breakup and situation. She's best friends with Stevie, Ryan's sister, who we met in the first book. So we have that forced proximity there, but I don't know. It was more of the emotional component than anything that really got me with this one. I really loved it. So after The Right Move, I ended up reading 3 different novellas from a whole series called the Feminist Novellas by Ali Hazelwood. Can you tell how much of an Ali Hazelwood fan I am based on how much I've read of her this year? These 3 mini novels followed 3 best friends, Hannah, Sadie, and Mara. They all live in different parts of the world though, and just kind of connect over FaceTime and phone call, but we follow each of their individual love stories. The first one I read, I gave a 4-star, which was Under One Roof. This one followed Mara and Liam, and they're kind of in this like forced proximity roommate situation. Mara's like professor, mentor, who she was really close to, passes away and leaves his house for her to live in so she can go and study and like pursue her job. But then she finds out that's also left half to this professor's grandson, who she hates. This one is really fun. There's a lot of like roommate battles and hijinks going on, and I really liked how feisty Mara was. She has this little spicy side to her, so I think you would like this if you're here for a good time. Then was Stuck With You, which I gave a 3-star. This was arguably my least favorite of them. This one was about Sadie and Eric, their co-workers, and they kind of had this huge miscommunication situation. That's the main reason why they weren't together, even though they've been pining for each other for a long time. And miscommunication honestly just a hit or miss for me. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, kind of depends on the surrounding factors. To me, it just kind of didn't make sense. I didn't know why they hadn't talked for so long. It kind of felt contrived. And the last one was Below Zero, which I gave a 4-star, and I think this one was my favorite of the 3. This is about Hannah and Ian. Hannah's on a work trip right now with NASA. That's where they both work. She's in this like big Arctic expedition mission thing, and she gets stuck, and Ian has to come save her and rescue her. They knew each other from a while back, so they were getting like past timelines of when that happened, and then the present when he's saving her, and it was just really cute. So next I read Mine Would Be You by K. Jamala, and if I'm being real, and I feel so bad, but I don't remember much of this book. I didn't even remember I read it until I looked at my Goodreads. I was like, wait, what was this? But this is about Nina. She basically just came out of her first relationship. She kind of got burned and still kind of recuperating from that, but then she goes to a wedding and ends up hooking up with this guy named Jackson, and he's literally the only thing I remember about this book because I remember him being such a ray of sunshine. I remember reading this and like having a smile on my face the whole time just because of how happy and like joyous he was. I ended up giving this one a 4-star as well. And then I decided to break my heart into a million pieces because I read 7 Days in June by Tia Williams. Follows Shane and Eva. Eva is a single mom now. She has been for a long time. She's a writer. She writes romance books, but she goes to like literary conference type of event where she's speaking, and she runs into Shane, who she has not seen in like 2 decades. They spent this 1 week together in high school and absolutely fell in love, but haven't seen each other since, and this is really reopening all of those wounds and experiences for her as they reconnect. You learn about their past and all their separate histories and what they've gone through, and you really connect and resonate with them. Love the flashbacks from the past and present, and also seeing kind of how what happened in the past is shaping how she's viewing things in the future. I loved it. I definitely want to read this again in the summer. Like the fact that they are both authors and for 2 decades have been writing and secretly leaving like innuendos and hints to each other in their books and writing to each other in their books for 2 years. That will live in my brain rent free. I can't. I love this book so much. Okay, now we're gonna talk about a book I didn't love, and that was Romantic Comedy by Curtis Sittenfeld. This was a book that I genuinely was really excited going into it. First of all, I thought the cover was gorgeous, and the premise of it really intrigued me. Basically, it's supposed to be kind of like an SNL writer type romance. Our main character, Sally, is a writer on the Night Owls, which is basically like SNL in this world, and she starts falling for the guest star, who is this famous pop star named Noah. And I thought that was really cool. I like the synopsis idea. I enjoy like the first part, but kind of like the execution of the book didn't really work for me. So first of all, the book is split up into 3 sections. The first part is like them meeting each other in that initial like interactions, which was kind of what I expected. Then it kind of goes into a COVID book where there's like emails and excerpts of them back and forth during COVID. But I don't know, I wasn't expecting it. I didn't want to be like in COVID times again. Also, especially in the 3rd quarter conflict, like once we get out of the emails, Sally was very insecure about her relationship, which is not a negative thing in and of itself. Like I know that's a relatable thing, but I don't know, I just didn't want to read it. She just kind of felt like pessimistic and downtrodden, so I gave it a 2. Love the concept, just didn't love how it was kind of done. And then after that, randomly I decided to read the entire Rebel Blue Ranch series, or at least what's out right now. The first 3 books are already published. The first one is Done and Dusted, which you guys have probably seen before. It's very popular on booktok. But then I also read Swift and Saddled and Lost and Lassoed. All of these follow the Ryder family, who owns the Rebel Blue Ranch in Wyoming, and I really like how Lila Sage— did I say her name before? This series is by Lila Sage, by the way. I don't know if I included the author. But anyway, I really like how interconnected and interwoven all the characters are. They're all siblings and they all live together, and you really get to know all of the other characters that you're going to be reading about from that first book. So I feel like reading these all back to back to back, I was like kind of part of the family. The first one is Done and Dusted. Like I said, this one follows Emmy and Brooks. Emmy has been gone from home for a while. She is a professional horse rider and has like won a bunch of titles, but recently got an injury. And so she's come back home to like kind of settle down and figure out what she's gonna do next, and also kind of fearful of riding again, but she hasn't told any of her family this. The only person she seems to be able to open up to is Brooks, who is her brother's best friend. They kind of grew up together. She's known him her whole life, but she never really got to know him like this until now, and it's their love story. I gave this one a 3.5. I do think this is a really good introduction to the series and opens it up for all of the other books. Then comes Swift and Saddled, which is about Wes and Ida. Wes is the middle child. He feels a little bit kind of out of place, like he doesn't really have a purpose, but he's really excited to lead the guest ranch renovation that's happening on the property, and he has enlisted the help of Miss Ida to come and help. She's an interior designer, kind of a city girl, and she just got out of a really abusive relationship and just had a divorce. Kind of reserved, kind of quiet, very much sheltered and afraid of romance right now, but she can't help but fall in love for Weston. This one I gave a 4 stars and was so cute. I really like how Ida was written in this book. She's definitely more on the black cat side of female main characters, a lot more reserved and skeptical of the relationship, but she's not written like a bitch, and that's my one gripe with a lot of black cat like golden retriever romances, that the girl is always written as like such like an unlikable person. I really liked Ida in this one, and Wes as well. He's such a sweet guy. And then came Lost and Lassoed, which is my favorite so far. This was one I was most excited about. I want to read Teddy and Gus's story from the second we met them. Teddy is Emmy's best friend, and then Gus is Emmy's brother. This is definitely enemies to lovers. Teddy and Gus hate each other. They can't stand each other. They're always fighting, arguing, but they're both going through a little bit of a hard time right now. Teddy just lost her job, and then Gus is a single parent. Well, not a single parent. He co-parents with Riley's mom's Cam, but Cam left to go to California for some legal thing that she's doing. She's a lawyer. So Emmy decides that the best way to get her best friend and her brother to stop hating each other is for Teddy to start babysitting Riley and becoming her nanny. So we have that forced proximity thing going. She's kind of like half roommates because she stays with Gus while she's taking care of Riley. Amazing. I really enjoyed it. I gave it a 4-star, and I can't wait now for Cam and Dusty's book. And then after this, throughout December, I have been reading the 5 Under the Mistletoe collection novellas. These are like 5 mini stories that you can read on Kindle by a bunch of really famous romance authors, and I really want to give this a try. Ali Hazelwood and Tessa Bailey were 2 authors from this collection that I had read before from, but I hadn't read from any of the other authors, so I thought this was a good time to kind of explore. And not gonna lie, this was kind of a flop. I did like the first one, which we can get into, which obviously was by Ali Hazelwood, but the other ones weren't that good, so I'm gonna quickly just recap them. So the first one was Cruel Winter with You by Ali Hazelwood. I gave this one a 4-star. This one was my favorite. This follows Jamie and Mark. They're childhood friends and they know each other for a long time. Jamie ends up going over there to borrow a pan for Christmas cookies or whatever they're making, but then they get snowed in, and after a long time of pent-up feelings, everything kind of gets let out. We had the past alternate timeline, we had the history, we had the fun. I really liked it, so this one was, like I said, a 4-star. Then was Merry Ever After by Tessa Bailey. She is kind of already a hit or miss for me when it comes to her smut, because her dirty talk is sometimes a little bit too much for me. If y'all like it, I love it, but for me personally, sometimes it's a little bit too much, and that was the case for this one. Followed Evie, a single mom, and she works at this thrift store where Luke Ward, this guy, comes in and instantly, like, and I mean full-on Jacob like level imprinting, just decides he wants her. Looks at her, is like, I want to fuck you and for you to move in my house and me to become the father to your child, basically. And I was like, y'all just met though. So yeah, 2-star. And then was All by My Elf by Olivia Dade. I didn't want to be mean and give this a 1, but I am like this close to doing that because I don't understand what the purpose of this was. That actually sounds so mean. I'm not trying to be a bitch, but like genuinely I felt like it was all just a summary. Follows Nina and William. They are professors and don't make that much money, so over the break they are working on this like hot dog stand, and for some reason, I don't even remember the reason, it's so convoluted, that's what I'm saying, they end up having to stay the night in this hot dog stand together, and like the other like teacher that's there, Nina's best friend, like ends up staying somewhere else. So that's like the perfect opportunity for them to like have sex in this like food truck. Like, what is going on here? I really didn't get it. I feel like the whole thing was just so confusing and weird and just an excuse for them to have sex. Like, there were so many other ways you could have gotten to that. Anyway, then was Merry Men and Mayhem by Alexandria Belfleur, which I have never read from this author before, but I just want to say I'm obsessed with her name. I thought that was the coolest name ever. I was like, I would love to have such a fancy name. This one I actually did like. I gave this a 3. This was more along the lines of what I was expecting for these, which was like holiday vibes and Christmas, a little bit silly and doesn't make sense like if you really examine it too close, but overall like it's cute and whimsical vibes. Basically it follows Everly, and she is at her grandma's house. She passed away, but she really wants to kind of reunite the spark that her grandma always had during Christmas. Her grandma loves Christmas, so she's on this quest to like bake cookies and string lights, but every single time something happens she ends up like in this huge disaster. She lights the oven on fire the first time, then with the lights the ladder falls out from underneath her and she's like holding on to the house. But every single time one of these things happens, she gets saved by a resident hot firefighter, Griffin. And like I said, this is all I needed. Give me some holiday vibes, give me a hot man, throw it together, like that was fine. I like this one a lot. And then last but not least was Only Santa's in the Building by Alexis Daria. This was a romance between Evie and Theo, who are like building mates. They live in the same like apartment complex. They're going to a house party together where they meet each other. There's mutual pining. It's cute. The last like ending surprise was really adorable, so I give this one a 3 as well. And then lastly, before we wrap up this video, I'm just going to touch on my current read, which I'm going to finish before the year's over, and that is The Score by Elle Kennedy. I don't have a rating for this one yet or anything, obviously, because I haven't finished it yet, but this is the 3rd book in the off-campus series. I read the first 2, I want to say like 2 years ago, but I never finished the series and I don't know why, so I am back to wrap it up. This is following Dean and Allie. I feel like I went into this with really high expectations because this is everyone's favorite in the series. It's not bad at all. I like it a lot. It's a sports romance. Dean is like this really big player. He's like known to be the most slept around and like slut of the group, but he is with Allie now. He's like obsessed with her after hooking up with her one time, Allie was kind of rebounding from her ex who won't leave her alone. And it's Allie like continuously like fighting her attraction to this man while Dean is constantly like, I want to hook up with you, but also like, why do I want to hook up with you so much? 'Cause I've never been obsessed with someone in my life before like this. And so yeah, that's where we're at with this currently. I am around halfway through. But with that being said, those are all of the books I read in 2024. That was actually really fun. It was really nice to look back on my year of reading and see everything I read and kind of how I felt. Let me know how you felt on any of these if you had read them. And more importantly, comment down below what was your favorite book of 2024. I'm looking for a bunch of recommendations now that I'm getting back into reading more regularly and I'm on break right now. So if you guys have anything that really stuck out to you, let me know. That is it. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Bye. Mwah.